Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 9th, 2026 meeting of the Abington Township Board of Commissioners. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioners Rosenbaum,
Here.
Rothman,
Here.
DePlacido,
Here.
Laney Martin,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Weingrad,
Here.
Henry,
Here.
Zapone. Here. Young Gertz,
Here.
Spiegelman, Pertel,
Here.
Schreiber,
Here.
Bowman,
Here.
Vice President Vehy,
Here.
President Hecker.
Here. Thank you. Please note that Commissioner Spiegelman is excused this evening, and may we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just one brief announcement this evening. Earlier this evening, the board met in executive session to discuss real estate matters. And with that, I will open it up for anyone who wishes to comment on what is being considered before the board tonight, the agendas. If you have a comment on the agenda, please come forward.
Adele Cubell, Abington. Sorry. Why does the solicitor approve of minute summaries that destroy a meeting and turn statements of great public importance into nonsensical word scrambles? Only citizens that share the perspective of billionaires are considered worthy of accurately quoting. Those that share the perspective of billionaires are labeled advocates by commissioners and are quoted in long, mistake-free paragraphs. The minutes are biased and designed to be propaganda. The continual need to doctor and re-edit videos demonstrates commissioners' desire to control the history of meetings. Commissioners do not want to be held accountable for unnecessary jumbo tax increases. Millions are being utilized to further the plans of billionaire developers. Abington citizens have trash and pothole-filled streets due to billionaires needing millions in sidewalk upgrades. Commissioners do not want to be held accountable for taxing homes to the point that homeowners will no longer be able to afford to live in their homes, or for abusing citizens. Video editing is never ending. The tolls, Goldman's, and every developer should be paying for traffic calming studies. These calming studies are needed to build extreme levels of high-density apartments. The Rockwell Stormwater Project indicates apartments will be built in that area. Montgomery County has more bike-involved crashes than any county in Pennsylvania outside of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. High-density population and biking guarantees crashes, especially on narrow bike trails, trash and pothole-filled streets. E-bikes and e-scooters make the situation even worse and the bikers even younger. As young as 10, I see them on the streets. Sadly, the developers that are the community planners prioritize profit over people. Useless consultants and an extravagantly paid township administration and the EDC assist developers to bleed Abington dry. Abington has little resources for the present population. Tonight, will questions be answered? I'll answer that. No, not unless you're involved with developers. The library does a wonderful job, but the bulbs are out. There's no lighting that's proper there. And bugs, all kinds of bugs and flies, fill the light fixtures. There's one person who's supposed to do all the maintenance for the library, plumbing, electricity. He's painting the library. The light fixtures are out. I've never seen that, and I taught in Philadelphia for 33 years. I've never seen light fixtures out like they are in Abington Library.
Thank you. Please conclude your comments. Your time has expired.
Well, I want to finish.
Thank you for your comments.
You don't want to hear my comments.
I'd let you go an extra 20 seconds. Please take your seat.
No, I started late because you always have my name part of it.
Please take your seat. Anyone else wish to speak? If so, please come forward. Just state your name and confirm that you're an Abington resident.
Okay, I'm not going to be as angry as that, but I'm Paul Rinko. I live on Susquehanna Road, and
Good
I got
evening.
a message about the e-bikes that are being discussed today, and I just wanted to point out that not all e-bikes are the same. So under the current Pennsylvania law, you're supposed to be 16 or over when you are riding one, and it's also not supposed to be like basically electric dirt bikes. So I just brought one to show you. I don't know if you can pause my 20
Yeah, can you just pause the clock real quick?
I wasn't angry.
Oh, it's okay.
No, I wasn't angry, so you should.
Please do not speak, excuse me. Ms. Cabell, this is your warning that if you speak out again, you'll be removed from the meeting.
I don't want to be lied.
Ms. Cabell, I have told you, if you...
I told you I don't want to be lied.
Okay, so Ms. Cabell, the next time you interrupt the meeting, you will be taken out of the room.
Sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody. But anyway, so this is like a regular bike that has like a little battery on it. This bike is about, I don't know, 9 years old. So it's an original e-bike. Like before you could get like the super cheap ones that you see like the 12, 13-year-olds running around on. This is what micromobility is supposed to be about. It has like lights that come on and they blink, and so like a real e-bike is actually very safe. Currently according to Pennsylvania law, Class 1 e-bikes, which is what this is, are allowed on all public roads, parks, etc. But there is like a recent push because of, the teen activities and I see people all the time that are, blasting past me on these kind of bikes. I started riding this kind of bike because my kid, who actually was one of the Eagles who was here a few months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Xander, he joined SOMONT, which is a very, very good regional biking program. I'm 53. I was a coach at 47. I couldn't keep up with him, so I got one of these so we could ride together. And in fact, this past weekend, I was in Cape May, and I was with a friend who was training for we call it an Ironman. Mm-hmm. And so I was telling him on this, he got heat stroke and I didn't, and my wife is happy I didn't have a heart attack, or anything like that. So,
yeah, of course.
I mean, you guys have an important question ahead of you, but just think of like old people that I don't want to call myself old, but people that don't want to have heart attacks who do like to exercise.
Yeah.
Because I do like an 8-mile loop through the township, Alvethorpe, Lorimer, and it's part of my daily, well, not daily, but.
Understood. We appreciate your honesty, too.
So that's my
Okay.
spiel.
Well, thank you for sharing, and thank you for coming out. Sarah, did you want to come forward? And then anyone else in the audience can as well.
I'm here to comment on the e-bike ordinance.
Sure.
Adam Schorsch, Meadowbrook.
Thank
I've got photos. I couldn't bring the bike up, but in
Okay,
case
well, you
anybody
can leave
wants to
those,
see,
and we'll, yeah,
brought a couple copies.
thank you.
Few quick remarks. Thank you, everybody. Good evening.
Good evening.
I do support trail safety very much, and this is an important discussion. And as a parent and a resident and a Pennypack trail user and a road user here, I feel very personally the people, and I take offense to the people zooming by at much too high a speed. I think anybody being on the trail when someone does that would understand. My family and I, we've got 2 young kids. We bike Pennypack Trail in particular 3-4 times a week. And we've got a family cargo bike with a motor, and it's wonderful. And we use that as a leisure method. We use it as a way to get off screens. We go to Pennypack for events. We bike the grounds around the cathedral. Sometimes my kids bring their bikes. We make bike to Larimer, Huntington Valley Library. I mean, it's wonderful. I don't know how else to say it, but it's one of the joys of parenthood so far, as with young kids. I'm sure there'll be many more. But the challenge is that with all the hills surrounding that area, I cannot get myself and 2 other little humans and the bike to and from the trail without electric assist. I don't go fast, we go at their speed, but we would lose this entire thing if we're not allowed to have a small electric motor on the bike. We don't zoom, we ring our bells as we're passing just like we're supposed to and call out. My kids do it with me, on your left, before we pass somebody if we are going quickly enough to pass a walker or something.
Can I just interject
yes,
for 1 second?
please.
Just stop the clock. I just want to clarify. So what is being discussed tonight would be applicable to township parks. It would not be applicable to Lorimar or the Pennypack Trails or any of that stuff. So this would be
Okay.
specific to township-owned parks
Okay.
and nowhere else in the township.
Okay, I thought that, that's my mistake. I thought.
No,
the
no,
penny-
I just wanted to clarify.
I
because
appreciate
I
that.
can appreciate that,
Yeah,
your
that's,
perspective.
that's helpful. I thought that Pennypack was in Abington and that it would
Well,
apply
it's in
that.
Abington, but it is not
Okay.
a township resource.
That's helpful. That's helpful. May I ask, would it apply to Alvathorpe?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Alvathorpe is one of the other adventures I take with my kids. You know, no car, no screen, out in nature, and it's, you can imagine, I think at about 12 months old, you're allowed to get on a bike with a helmet and
Yeah.
proper security. But to get your 12-month-old out and seeing the world with their goggles on so they don't get hit with any bugs is just, it's, I said magic already, it's magic. So I think to finish, a ban on some of these routes would hit us in two ways. It would push us back for our leisure riding onto public roads, which would be unsafe for the children. That's kind of the opposite of what we're all trying to do, get everybody out and about, and then it would also remove a car-free way to get around. We use it for school drop-off and pickup, but we also, as I've mentioned many times, do use this as a family activity 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it,
And any
sir.
photos if you want.
You can leave it. We will look at them for sure. Thank you. Sir, you wish to come forward?
I'm Dick Stern. I live in Tall Trees, right across from where the hospital.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
And I've been riding my low-powered e-bike for at least 8 years. I bought it at Keswick. It's been serviced there. I'm very careful with it. I go out of our development and down Old Huntington Pike and get on the trail, ride north and south. I'm very careful, and I think most people are careful. I applaud you trying to stop the throttled mechanisms. I honestly didn't think that, I thought this was going to be a ban on my riding on the Pennypack. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's
delighted to hear that it isn't. But the same position is that we should try to be careful with these bikes, and e-bikes are safe, in my opinion, and it's the only way I could get to and from my house. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I see everybody had prepared remarks. I'm just going to wing it.
Go for it. Good evening. Your name, please?
My name is Sharon Potts. I've been an Abington resident for almost 40 years.
Thank you.
And I brought my bike. I mean, if you want me to pull it forward, I will, so you can see the difference between a Class 1 and a Class 2. Mine is a Class 2 bike, doesn't go faster than 20 miles an hour, if that I use that, and it has a 750 watt motor, which is the highest that in Pennsylvania that you can, that is considered a Class 2. So I understand that it's township parks, and Alvathorpe would be the only park that would make sense to me for an e-bike, but the difference between an e-bike and is that it's a motor, not an engine. So if a bike has an engine, it's not a Class 2, and it goes faster. So to push us out on the street, to add to what Mr. Shore said, that it's unsafe. You know it's unsafe to ride anything on the streets in Abington. And putting a bike and more bikes on the street, especially with children and seniors, it's not safe. So if the township parks ban this, I am afraid of what's going to happen and how it's going to snowball, and that it becomes an issue, a grander issue, a bigger issue that spreads. E-bikes are awesome. It's the only way that I can ride a bike with osteoarthritis in my knees. And it gets us out. It gets us to the park. It gets us in the trees without strain and stress, and it just makes life easier and happier being outside
Understood.
on our bikes. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to come forward? And if not, we'll go to Zoom.
Ross Sable?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Ross, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Good evening, commissioners and township staff. My name is Ross Abel. I'm calling in as an Abington resident and co-chair of Bike Montgomery County. I'm asking the board not to advertise the e-bike and e-scooter ordinance as drafted tonight, and instead to send it back for revision. I want to start by saying I understand the safety concern. If this is coming from reports of young riders using e-bikes or e-moto style devices dangerously in parks, that's a real issue. Fast, heavy, reckless riding around pedestrians, children, seniors, dogs, and people using mobility devices is not okay. But that's exactly why the ordinance needs to be more precise. Pennsylvania law already says no one under 16 may operate an e-bike on state or local highways, and lawful e-bikes are limited by weight, motor power, pedals, and speed. The issue is often not a normal low-speed e-bike. The issue is dangerous behavior, underage operation, modified high-speed devices, and heavier e-motos being treated as if they are bicycles. Sometimes people buy these, I've seen on the internet, not realizing that they're not technically legal. These devices that do go over 20 miles an hour and have these higher weights. So I just want to clarify that there's a difference between some of these really big devices that are overpowered and what technically is legally allowed on PA state roadways. A lawful low-speed e-bike's not the same as these e-motos, mopeds, dirt bikes, or modified high-speed electric vehicles. E-bikes help older adults, people with disabilities, limited mobility, parents carrying children, commuters, residents who need electric assist for these hills, especially distance, heat, or physical limitations. For some people, electric assist is the difference between being able to bike and not being able to bike at all. I think we're seeing that based on a lot of these comments from folks in the room. For me personally, I won't be able to use my own primary bike at our parks, well, especially Alberthorpe, which I love, even though it's low powered, low speed, and most people wouldn't even realize it's an e-bike. My batteries are removable and it functions just like a normal bike. For reference, Montgomery County already has a more targeted model. Their rules allow bicycles and e-bikes in designated areas while requiring working pedals, a motor no more than 750 watts, a weight limit of 100 pounds, safe and controlled riding yielding to pedestrians, audible warnings when passing, and a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. That's the kind of approach I think Abington should consider. So please do not advertise this ordinance as drafted. Revise it to allow lawful low-speed e-bikes where conventional bicycles are allowed, post trail speed limits, require yielding and safe passing, prohibit reckless operation, and clearly ban e-motos, mopeds, dirt bikes, modified high-speed devices, and illegal underage operation. Because I think those are the most unsafe uses that you will see. Trail safety matters, but the solution should target the actual risk without reducing access for responsible riders. And lastly, I wanted to acknowledge the death of Paul Wilburn from our community. He was an e-bike rider who was hit just last week at Susquehanna and Fitzwatertown. And I know we've seen this before, but it's heartbreaking when another person's taken from us too early, hit by what I see as the most concerning types of vehicles, which are the increasingly heavy cars and trucks and SUVs that are on our roadways that are increasingly more and more dangerous. So thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Lehman.
Laura Lehman from Meadowbrook. And so first of all, I'd like to chime in on what Ross and the other speakers all said. And there is no way that we should be voting tonight on something that would move forward that has not been properly vetted in the public. Nowhere has this been properly vetted in the public. It should come up in a committee meeting, and there should be an opportunity for people to notify others, get together and have full meetings on this kind of thing so all the stakeholders are in on it. This is a problem that has happened since you've taken away our speaking rights by bringing items for the first time to an agenda to vote on it that the public has not seen and really has no full clue of where their participation could be. 3 minutes before a voting meeting is not participation, and especially when all of the details have not been vetted and are not known. And that is, so I agree with what Ross said. Please don't bring this forward tonight. Please revise this after the public has been included. And what all the other speakers said, it applies. Please pay attention to what your residents are telling you. I use an e-bike. I could not bike with my husband without an e-bike. And on the agenda also, you have a brand new library, never been vetted, never been, literally, where did it come up before? Nowhere. We're actually undertaking a whole new library without first including the public first. And so that the public can have some participation in this. This is unconscionable how you are now running our meetings. The public is supposed to be vetting everything that you do and have an opportunity to meaningfully participate. So Commissioner Hecker, restore our speaking rights that you took away and put things back in committee meetings. And if you want to do it right, put it back like it used to be with public affairs, public safety, zoning and code, etc., all in categories, so it's not mindlessly flung all over. Please do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I will now turn to Commissioner Schreiber for the consent agenda.
Thank you, President Hecker. We have 2 items this evening on the consent agenda, items A and B, and I'd like to make a motion to accept both of them.
It's been moved. Do we have a second? Moved and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The consent agenda carries. We have no unfinished business, so we will move right into new business, and I will once again turn to Commissioner Schreiber.
First item, BOC 03070926, which is a discussion and presentation of a traffic calming policy.
I get to say it in public. Sergeant, please come forward.
Good evening. For those of you who are unfamiliar with me, I know you all are. To the residents here and online, I'm Sergeant Mike Coughlin with the Police Department. I'm here tonight to discuss the proposed traffic calming policy that we've been working on for some time with the traffic safety team here, the Police Department Administration, Township Management, and Administration. So why are we here for traffic calming? What is it? Traffic calming, as you all are aware, is the use of physical devices such as speed humps. I'm sorry, I forgot to change that. The use of physical devices to improve roadway safety. These would include speed humps, chicanes, artificial curves, things of that nature, traffic roundabouts. There's a large amount of resident demand for these devices in Abington Township, and up until this point, we've had no good answer for when someone calls in or asks one of you, how do I get speed humps on my street? We have no process. So this policy is aimed at streamlining that process, spelling it out, and making it transparent and giving people a greater voice in the role. What also happened is that PennDOT has recently changed their approach to traffic calming in general. They used to have a traffic calming handbook, which kind of serves as a de facto policy for across the state. They changed their guidance on that, and they encourage municipalities to come up with their own policies now. So that has led us to come up with this policy. So I already talked about this, large amount of resident demand, a recent change to PennDOT guidance, and this would also align ourselves with other regional municipalities such as Philadelphia, Cheltenham, Montgomery Township just passed one, Talmenson Township has one, the list goes on of townships who have their own policies, and this would align us with them in the area of traffic safety. And it would govern the request, the approval, and the installation of traffic calming measures here in Abington Township, what that looks like and what the process is. These are the common devices I already talked about: speed humps, speed cushions, chicanes, traffic islands, advanced warning signage, pavement markings. But 9 times out of 10, what this policy is really going to be geared for is the physical measures that would be installed, such as speed humps, roundabouts, raised crosswalks, things of that nature. So getting into what roadways in Abington would be eligible if this policy were passed in its current state, the policy only applies to public roadways for low to moderate traffic volumes. And what that really means is it's designed and geared for the low-volume residential back streets of the neighborhoods in Abington Township. It's not geared for the major thoroughfares like Old York Road, the ones that serve as emergency routes for Abington Hospital. So the average daily traffic volume numbers must fall between 500 and 6,000 vehicles a day, and that covers, like I said, the neighborhood roadways of Abington Township. Speed threshold, when we're talking about devices that are designed to slow cars down, a speed hump, speed bump, the 85th percentile speed, well, first, the posted speed limit on the road has to be 35 miles an hour or less. That's directly from PennDOT guidance, that they're not appropriate for anything above that. And then the 85th percentile speed after we do our surveys would have to be at least 10 miles an hour over that posted speed limit. I know Cheltenham and Philadelphia have theirs set at 5. We researched that number. We felt that 10 miles an hour was appropriate at this stage. While we get this policy up and running during its infancy, it'll make sure that we're dealing with the most severe cases first and foremost. That 10 miles an hour is still the industry standard best practices number for engineering. And we felt it was appropriate at this point to get up and running, and we can always revisit it later if need be. And then some other parameters there. The road must be 500 feet long with a grade of less than 8%, and that's all straight from PennDOT there. So the request process, this is what it looks like if a resident comes forward to either one of you or straight to the police department or to the township management and says, I want a traffic calming device on my street. The traffic safety unit would go out and they would determine if the roadway met those parameters that I just discussed. If it does, they would go to, the applicant would be given an initial petition to circulate amongst the residents of the block that the device is proposed for. And they would circulate that petition. Once they get the amount of support, which I'll discuss in a second, we would move into the design and recommendations. And then once we have that, once we know exactly what device is going where and what impact that may have on people, they would circulate a second petition to make sure everybody's on the same page. And then we would prioritize and rank it once it's approved, and the township manager would find funding for it. So the first step, like I said, we would just go out and confirm that the roadway is eligible, very basic. The second step is that first petition. They would be required to obtain 60% of signatures on the directly impacted road. That's the block where that device is going to go. It's where the people who, whether they support it or not, are going to be impacted in their daily lives by this device being installed. Moving into phase 3, once we have that first petition completed, we would seek approval from EMS and fire services. That would be required. If it's on a SEPTA route, we would seek input from them. Their approval would not be required. However, we would want to see their input and how it may impact them. We would analyze the crash history, and we would come up with recommendations for a calming device and recommend that to the township manager. The township manager has the authority to use in-house resources to come up with the recommendations or to outsource it to an engineering firm. And then just a catch-all, all devices would conform to PennDOT Federal Highway guidelines, and they must meet the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So then the final installation or final petition would go back out once we know exactly what device is going where, what impact that may be. The applicant would then go circulate a second petition. They would be required to obtain 70% of support from the directly impacted area, like I said, that immediate block that it's on. And then if applicable, if it was a device that we identify as could potentially cause diversionary traffic, for example, to another roadway, we may require a secondary impact area to be included on that, and they would be required to obtain 60% of support from that street. And I have an example of that here. So this is Old York Road. To the east of it, you have Guernsey, Eckerd, and Horace in one line. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see Susquehanna on the 1600 block. We see a substantial amount of cut-through traffic come up Susquehanna. They use Huntington Road and then Guernsey Avenue to avoid the light at Old York and Susquehanna. So if they wanted to put a speed hump or something of that nature where that X is on Guernsey Avenue, that would be the directly impacted area that they would need to obtain the 70% of support from, and the initial petition would go to that area. And then in this case, If we identify that the device could cause diversionary traffic, in this case, we know Eckerd Avenue is a one-way, so they're not going to go there if they're cutting through to avoid Old York and Susquehanna. So there's a potential that Horace Avenue might see some diversionary traffic there. So that, in this example, and this is an extreme example, but that would be the secondary impact area that we would identify and require to be petitioned as well. And the reason behind this is to make sure everybody's on the same page and knows what is going in, where, and what that may mean for their personal lives. We don't want it to turn into a situation where the township invests thousands of dollars in a project, it causes unforeseen issues, and all of a sudden we have people calling for its removal, and we're dealing with that process. After the petitions are complete, we would prioritize and rank it based on speed, volume, and crash history with a table that looks something like this. And as you can see, you get points based on the amount of speeding on the roadway, the amount of volume on the roadway, its presence to pedestrian generators, crashes, if there's a school nearby. We would prioritize and rank it based on that, and it would go into a queue that the township manager would hold authority over to determine when we have the funds available, what order we're going to do these projects in. These are just some nuts and bolts of the policy. There's built into the policy that the township still has the ability to initiate a traffic calming project if we determine it's necessary. We wouldn't go through the petition process, but rather we would notify all impacted residents and give them a 14-day public comment period before any decisions were made. Funding would be under the purview of the Township Manager's Office. Public Works is responsible for all the maintenance on it. And then the Traffic Safety Unit is responsible for monitoring it, making sure it's doing what we hoped it would do and not causing unforeseen issues. We also have a section built into the policy for if we have to take a device out, such as it's causing unforeseen issues or it's not being effective and maybe they're doing a road project, we have the ability to remove a device. But there's also a part in here if the residents request it to be removed. We're seeing this in Philadelphia where they're going in and they're putting in a device, and then next thing you know, a neighborhood association is coming forward saying, we didn't want this, we want it out. And we've seen it in Montgomery Township lately. So what we put in here was to prevent a knee-jerk reaction, the device would have to be in place for 24 months. And then they would have to do a petition. And if the property owners support that it should be removed, we would respond to that petition. There's a built-in policy review. I know I talked about it with the 85th percentile speed that we can always reevaluate if need be in the future. There's a 1-year policy review built in here that we will, after we're up and running and we're seeing how this is working and what things need to be changed, we'll get together, we'll talk as a team, and we'll make the appropriate changes with your all approval. And then just in conclusion, this policy would give everyone a voice, not just the person requesting the device, but it would give the people that aren't coming to the township with their concerns about traffic, it would give them the ability to have some input in here as well. And it's more transparent, it's more organized, it aligns us with regional municipal partners, and it's been vetted by our engineering partners. We're in line with what other municipalities are doing. It's been vetted, the solicitors approved it. So we really think this is a giant step forward in this area at this time. So.
Yeah.
And then any questions or comments?
Yeah, thank you, Sergeant Coughlin. This is excellent. I'm going to open it up. We'll start with Commissioner Schreiber, then DiPlacido.
If there was a situation where it went through all of the pieces to it, and it was determined that something was going in, like a speed hump or something, and it was, the best place was in front of, say it was in front of my house, and I didn't want it, I did not sign the petition, but other people did, do people have a right to refuse to have it because it's going to affect their parking or their resale value or things like that?
We didn't go as far as explicitly granting any sort of special privilege to that person. However, it's certainly something that we would take into consideration as we work with the residents that, maybe they say, okay, yeah, you're going to get them, but I don't want it in front of my house, and maybe we can relocate it. Certainly an area we would be flexible on if we could be.
And one other question. The 24-month review, that seems like a really long time. I understand why, because it's expensive to put these things in.
Yeah.
But if the neighbors or the people around it don't want to hear that hump noise and they just get sick of it after a while, is that found to be best practice, 24 months?
And actually we made that a little shorter than what the recommendation would be. 36 months was actually what kind of the old PennDOT standard. But our thought process in it is that once it's in, you're probably going to get that, right? You put in a speed hump, the person that didn't want one especially is going to say, oh, they're driving me crazy. But over time, you get used to it, or maybe they start to see the benefit of having the device there. So we thought that was long enough to make sure that we're not making that knee-jerk reaction and taking something out before we've done our due diligence on it.
Commissioner DePlacido.
Thank you, Commissioner Hecker. Thank you for the presentation, Sergeant Coughlin. A question about parking. Is there still a law or a provision or anything? Back in the day when speed humps or bumps were put in, there was a certain amount of feet
Yes.
that you could park.
Yes.
Now, the reason I ask that is because there is limited parking on many of these side streets. It's one side, so installing one of these could actually impact parking and availability of parking. So is there anything on the books now that says you cannot park so many feet in front of, back of?
So my understanding is that used to have to do with drainage and all sorts of things like that. And I believe that talked about the old-fashioned speed hump that went curb to curb.
Right.
I believe with the new devices that they've installed, there's some more flexibility there of going with the speed hump or the speed pillows. There's some new devices that I believe have some better flexibility with that. But to your point, that's where our petition comes in, where we go to that second petition, we go, okay, this device is going here, and this could be the potential impact. So if we were going with a device that could impact that, it would all be spelled out for the residents before they sign that second petition. So they know what is coming. It's not going to be a surprise if we put in something and there's a parking restriction attached to it, that they're not caught off guard by that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brown.
Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. For the sake of public knowledge, can you go into a little bit more detail in regards to how this policy affects both state roads and roads that are within business districts? And if the businesses also have to sign the petition?
Yeah. Keswick Village, for example. Yeah, businesses would still have to give their approval for it because they could be impacted by it too, right? As far as state roads, the old way was PennDOT didn't do them on state roads. PennDOT's now acknowledged their effectiveness. It has brought them into their traffic designing when they're doing roadway projects. And what they do is they say they have to approve of them, right? So they're not saying no, but they're saying they have to sign off on if a device could go on a state road. It would still have to, under this policy, it would still have to fall into those parameters as far as speed and volumes and things of that nature. But PennDOT does have that in their verbiage that they will, with their approval, they can be installed on state roadways.
Thank you. Commissioner Rothman.
Thank you for the presentation. In the past, when we've discussed speed humps, there were various types of speed humps, and the fire department had expressed some concern about either having to slow down or damage to the trucks, which they had said got pretty expensive if that kind of thing happened.
Yeah.
Do we have multiple versions of what the speed humps could look like? Would that be specific to the situation and the road? Would it be that we're leaning towards using a certain type of?
Yeah, the common ones used now are the speed pillows, where they're wide enough in theory for a emergency vehicle to be able to straddle them over. So that's most common going to be the device. And then we built in there that the fire department has to approve. So when we go out there and we say we want to put it on their location, they can look at, from their perspective as what's around that situation and what impact could that potential delay have on their services, their ability to get right. If we have the 100 York apartment building, they might be a steadfast no, we don't, if something's bad happening there, we need to get there, right? But maybe if we're in a more a more spaced out neighborhood or something like that, they can look and see what impact it might have on their services before they approve of it.
So it's fair to say we're trying to make progress here, but we're also going to take a deep dive into each individual situation before we do anything.
Yeah, every situation is going to be on a case-by-case basis to see what exactly the situation is as far as crashes, speeding, pedestrian facilities, and then what device is going to be best fit that scenario.
Thanks.
Commissioner Young-Gertz.
Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you very much for this. just in following that point with regard to looking at every specific situation in particular, for the sake of clarity, can you go over again the 85th percentile threshold? Now, does that mean before these things are to be considered, there's a certain percentage of traffic on the road that has been seen to exceed the speed limit of 10 miles an hour?
Excuse me. Yes, so when we go out and do our study on the road, if you have 100 cars going down the road, 85 of them and less are traveling at that speed and below. So 85% of the traffic is traveling at, if it's a 25-mile-an-hour roadway and they want a speed regulating device, it would be, if 85% of the traffic's at 36 or above that, then they would qualify for it. But if 85% of the traffic's doing 26 on the 25, then it would be considered that speeding, while it happens from time to time,
Right.
is not a prevalent issue.
Okay, so a routine, a pattern.
Yeah.
You established a pattern of speeding, not just a knee-jerk.
And it's built
reaction.
in there that the study's over multiple days, so we would capture different, patterns and times and, rush hour versus non-rush hour, overnight versus daytime, that sort of thing. So we would get a full picture of what's going on the roadway.
Commissioner Rosenbaum.
Thank you. Just to clarify, the example you gave involved very straight streets. And if there were requests for any sort of winding roads or anything, or with low visibility, is that different?
Yeah, so obviously curves would have to be taken into account when you're designing a device. So it might not be a speed hump, right? Because you don't want someone coming out of a curve and then all of a sudden they're slamming on their brakes and trying to go over. But there's other measures that you can take into, such as the advanced warning signage, pavement markings, maybe flashing light of sorts. There's other measures that we can take if we are precluded from using a certain device due to the geographical location of the problem. So.
And so this policy is the 60% signatures and all that. Is that required for those specific material devices, or is it also required for the alternatives as well?
That's going to be required for. That's going to be required for the major devices, the ones that are going to really change the dynamic of the roadway and force people to change how they're operating on it. More lower cost run-of-the-mill measures such as traffic signage and things like that would still be handled kind of how we do it now, where if we can do it, we'll do it. But this is for the ones that are really changing the dynamics of the vehicle operation on the road.
And you mentioned one of the needs is to streamline the process. I think the department may be getting a lot of requests. Do you know how many requests does the department receive, particularly for speed bumps or these devices?
I don't have an exact number, but I can tell you that it's probably weekly at minimum that we're getting someone emailing in saying, namely speed humps. That's the big ticket item, right? They want cars to slow down. That's the one that is easy to pick off the tree, and it's at least weekly that we're getting these requests, and I know the commissioners get them frequently as well.
And how much? What's the range of cost for those devices?
I would have to defer to Mike Jones, who I don't think he's here. Last number I remember hearing was about $6,000 per a set, right? And then there's some guidance to say you should do them in certain increments if the roadway is of a certain length. So obviously the number would go up with how many you have to do.
Thank you. And is there? You mentioned you want to make sure that there's, let's say, the 24-month waiting period before it can be reversed. Do you have any sense of how often there are requests to reverse? I mean, maybe looking at other townships or looking at ours?
Not any official statistics. This is just from doing our research and then coming upon stories and being told of neighborhoods coming out and saying, well, we want that taken out. So, but I don't have any official statistics on how frequently that's occurred.
Commissioner Schreiber.
Just thought of this one, Commissioner Rothman. asked about the fire trucks. And I think it might be in there, so I apologize if you already told us this. In addition to the fire companies, the EMS and snowplows, will they also be considered?
Yeah,
if-
Public Works would be involved throughout the process because they're going to be the ones installing it and, doing a lot of the grunt work and designing it. So they're going to be installed to make sure that it's not going to hamper their abilities there. But fire and EMS,
But won't
absolutely.
so start calling and saying, there's still snow on my street because I can't have it removed? Okay.
Commissioner Laney Martin.
Hi, I just had a question in reference to roads that have an incline. I was saying you said 8%.
Yeah.
So one road, particularly in my area, Lamont Avenue, it has an incline and you can't really see over, and they speed up there all the time. I don't think a hump would, like cushions wouldn't necessarily, because you were saying you can't see. So what other calming devices or strategies would you use in that kind of circumstance?
So an example, again, speaking just off of recollection of Lamont Avenue, you could look at narrowing the roadway, you could look at advanced signage and markings, you could look at the chicanes, they're, artificial turns to make people, kind of have to slalom through it. There are other measures that you can use that aren't the speed pillow or the speed hump. But you would have to look at the exact location and what options are available to you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Sergeant Coughlin, we really appreciate the presentation. Manager Chrisman, what's the proposed timeline for this to come back?
So this will be back before you in 2 weeks for final consideration.
Okay, thank you.
And if anyone has any questions, you all know how to get.
We know
hold
where
of
to
me.
find you.
Please reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. Okay, I'll turn it back to Commissioner Schreiber.
Our second item this evening is BOC 04070926, request for authorization to advertise an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Abington for the regulation of e-bikes and e-scooters in parks and trail systems within Abington Township. Can I so move? Is that a
Yeah.
request? Okay.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Mr. Clark, do you want to make any comments before we deliberate?
Just briefly, our office was contacted by the township administration regarding some concerns that were being voiced through the Park and Rec Department regarding the use of e-bikes and other pedal assist bikes in the township parks. We drafted an ordinance that you have in front of you this evening. It is similar in nature to an ordinance that we have drafted in several other municipalities who are dealing with this issue as well. The township is permitted to ban the use of e-bikes in the township parks. Someone spoke earlier about Pennypack. That is a Montgomery County park. They have a different set of regulations, so this would only affect the use of these bikes in the county parks.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clark. I will open it up.
Township parks.
Understood. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to open it up for comments or questions from members of the board. Commissioner Rosenbaum.
Just to clarify, to your knowledge, e-biking, the Class 1 and Class 2 that people have been talking about, those are not prohibited in county parks?
I believe that is correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Weingraff.
Thank you. Can we get a sense of what kind of, if this is a problem in the parks currently? Does anybody know that?
Oh, I think Jessica's here. Good evening, Jessica.
Good evening. We have seen an increase in primarily Alvathorpe Park situations where walkers and visitors have been reporting to our park guards about the e-scooters and e-bikes flying past when they have children that are walking on the path. In addition, we have completed a good bit of work on a lot of our fields. We did have some damage to one of those fields in one of the parks that was from an e-scooter. an e-bike that required our Public Works Department to have to put in some time to repair that ball field. So we're seeing an increase in that. I don't necessarily have the numbers.
Yeah.
But we have noticed an impact in some of the other parks as well. It's difficult for us to monitor. I know that there are some regulations that some of the other parks in the county might have. It's difficult for us because we don't have the resources to be able to verify those requirements in terms of the speed of the bike, the weight of the bike, and things like that at this point, so.
I mean, can you see a way that we can protect the residents in a more, I guess, a more least restrictive way? You know, can we make this ordinance in any way just least restrictive so people can use, whether it's elderly or people that need these e-bike? Can you see any other way to do this?
I mean, we've looked at we've discussed kind of how we have, senior memberships and senior residencies and things like that. That's a possibility too, where, over a certain age that could be, permitted, but it's just difficult for us to monitor a lot of, if there's options out there that we haven't addressed. It's just hard for us to even, take the time with staffing to be able to verify those bikes. If there's another way, we'd surely be open to it. But at this point, we just don't have those options to be able to see. And we've looked at other, municipalities, and they're kind of, like the solicitor said, they're kind of just banning them altogether. So, it leads us to believe that they're not having as many options either to choose from to be able to allow that.
I would like to add one thing because I think it's important. We have been asked by some of our other municipalities to look at the possibility of making it, over 50, under 50. We are concerned about certain potential age discrimination issues. And I believe in these instances, our police departments have been concerned about the enforceability of stopping somebody randomly and then asking them to identify how old they are by producing some sort of identification. We think, again, that opens up some significant liability issues for the township.
Understood. Thank you. Let me do Commissioner Schreiber, then Young Gertz, and then Bowman.
I agree, it probably would be, but I'm just wondering, like cars have handicap stickers, can people apply to have, if they would need it for a disability of some sort?
I don't think that's being
Considered at this point, okay.
Right. And again, I think the reason these are being enacted is because of safety issues for those who are in the park, like was just mentioned, where there are young children on these walking paths or in the area around there, and somebody going by at 15, 20, 25 miles an hour. I think it's the safety issue for those in the park that we're trying to address with these ordinances.
Commissioner Young Gertz.
Thank you. A couple of things. The trails in our parks, Pennypack and Larimer have rail trails, and it's a certain width. It's pretty wide. I'm putting you on the spot. How the width of the Ablethorpe trails? It's much narrower than the Larimer Rail Trail. Would that be correct?
I don't know the exact dimensions of that.
No, I don't want to hold you to that. I'm just thinking that it's a small,
It would, yeah, if you were to look at it from
more
the eye,
narrow.
yeah, you would think, you would say that it's a little bit
Right.
narrower.
And again, putting you on the spot, but I'm thinking of stopping distance for a vehicle that goes 20 miles an hour or picking up speed. I know there's at least one hill in Ablethorpe where you can pick up speed. Sorry, but I'll ask. What's the stopping distance of a pedicycle or a motorcycle or whatever that's going 20 miles an hour? Do we have any idea? I mean, would it be considered significant in a trail where there are also pedestrians and little kids and all.
That's a great
Would it be
question.
fair
Would
it be fair to consider that as a safety issue?
Yes.
Okay.
We've currently have banned regular non-motorized scooters, skateboards and rollerblades for that back hill especially. There isn't adequate braking power on those devices. And that hill is pretty steep in the back.
Yeah. And our trails in the rest of our parks aren't, Applethorpe's, are paved and all of that, but we're talking about our little trails in our parks. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. The other thing about the process of, and I'll ask this of council, we're voting tonight to whether to advertise the ordinance. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Vice President Vehy, and then I'll get to anybody else here. You have your hand up, Matt?
I do. So I'm not prepared to vote for this tonight. I think there's benefits to these bikes. We're trying to limit the bad behavior of a few. And so I'm not opposed to some regulation here, but this is not something I'm going to be supporting, so I'll be a no. I would also support a vote to table, but I probably won't be doing the work to revise it, so I won't make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Vehy. Commissioner Bowman.
I recognize it's sensitive for the people who use the e-bikes, but it's really just our park system that's affected. And certainly in Roslyn Park, it is a narrow trail, and it's made of stone and gravel. So I'm prepared to accept a ban, and we can repeal it if we have if there's some lack of support, but I think it's a safety measure. It's appropriate.
Commissioner Zappone.
About 20 years ago, Commissioner Carlin and myself used the grant money from Senator Greenleaf to put those walking paths in. And they're like 3 to 4 foot wide, and they're all gravel. I've caught a couple people going in there with and they're destroying it. And then the Parks Department, Public Works has to come back out and straighten it out. It's, I'm okay with a ban in those type of parks with walking paths. These were built and created as walking paths, not, for motorized vehicles of any kind going in there. It's going to chew it up, destroy it. Again, it's only thin gravel. It's pea gravel.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Commissioner Zappone. Commissioner Henry.
So for most of our parks, exactly what he's saying, I see that very, very clearly. Alvethorpe specifically, though, it is gated already. It is already pretty heavily, monitored, and you need to go through with passes, and you need to show who you are and everything. And I'm wondering if there is a way that we could create a registration type of situation where there would be approved exceptions for Alvethorpe specifically, because you can monitor that. We do monitor that.
Thank you. Commissioner Weingart, that's fine. You can
Are there particular parks that this is a problem, and some parks that it's not a problem?
We're seeing majority of it is Ardsley, Roslyn, Alvethorpe. They're the three, and Pembroke. Pembroke is the park that sustained the field damage. So those are the four kind of main ones that we're seeing.
Who am I?
Sorry, I think is there another commissioner asking?
I don't see a hand.
Sorry.
Other comments or questions? Commissioner Rothman.
I'm weighing the can of worms type thing in my head, but is there a rush for us to make decisions on this right now? Any reason that there is a rush? Sometimes, I don't want to pretend to be the most sophisticated person in the room or anything, but sometimes there's stuff that Ashley tells us where it's regarding grants and this and that. I know this is an ordinance, but I don't know is there anything that I'm missing as to, aside from, and I'll acknowledge that I am concerned about safety. I'm in Alvethorpe 5 days a week. And I'm there with and without my children, and I see good and bad behavior. And being blunt, I'm a friend of Paul's, and Paul is out there, and I see him with his son all the time, and it's really awesome. So, I mean, this isn't about me or my story of my conflict here, but I also think I'm not sure what would change if we pushed it back a little bit, right? So sometimes we just have to make our decision. I guess what we would have 30 days of advertisement, is that right?
I believe so, yes. I don't think we're planning on bringing this back until September. We're not going to have enough time to have it in 2 weeks.
No.
No, it's whatever the standard requirement is. This is a
We
non-subdivision
would be,
zoning ordinance.
and I don't even know if we can get it, I'm trying to look to see what our first meeting is in August. No, excuse me, in August, right? I'm letting the summer fly by.
Yeah, settle down. So if we had changes or ideas or something came to mind for one of us and we wanted to circle back and modify, we're allowed to, right? And it would reset the clock, maybe, right? If there's a certain level of change.
Any substantial amendment to the advertised ordinance would require re-advertising.
Re-advertisement,
Yep.
okay. So we're still protected on if there's something that one of us or the public brings to mind and we want to circle back, right? So, I mean, in that light and knowing that there's plenty of time, I think it does make sense to move forward with a vote. And if it is passed, which I'll be voting to pass that, and then something comes to mind that we think we can make it better, I think we owe it to ourselves and the community to circle back. Pause.
Thank you, Commissioner Rothman. Commissioner Laney Martin.
This is really hard for me because I believe that this ordinance would just make it easy. You just ban it and it's over and it's done. Instead of talking to the young kids who were using their new cool equipment inappropriately and messing up the fields, or talking to the parents who bought the things for the kids about it, having an education program about it, coordinating with the schools so they can say, hey, these things are going on, so that we can use e-bikes in these environments. I'm an e-bike rider. I enjoy it, but I'm not tearing up the grassy areas and things like that because I use my bike responsibly. And this ordinance just seems like it's just so easy, just end it and it's done, and we don't have to take any kind of self-responsibility of helping our community and helping our neighbors and having a dialogue. Everybody that come to Everthorpe, we should have a pamphlet describing what kind of bikes, what's the danger, what are our concerns, that we glad to see that you're here trying to enjoy the outside and not playing on video games. This is great, right? And so I totally disagree with the ban. I'm gonna vote no. I'm not supporting it. I think we can be more creative. I think we can figure out a better way to help our community. And I think quite honestly, I just think it's lazy.
Thank you. Other comments or questions from members of the board? Okay, we'll call the question then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
We're gonna need a roll call vote.
Okay. Commissioner Rosenbaum?
Yes.
Commissioner Rothman?
Yes.
Commissioner DePlacido?
Yes.
Commissioner Laney Martin?
No.
Commissioner Brown?
No.
Commissioner Weingrod?
No.
Commissioner Henry?
No.
Commissioner Sapone? Yes. Commissioner Young Gertz?
Yes.
Commissioner Patel?
Yes.
Commissioner Schreiber?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowman?
Yes.
Vice President Vahey?
No.
President Hecker? President Hecker?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, nine in favor
Okay,
and
so
5 opposed, so the motion passed.
motion carries. Thank you. Turn it back to Commissioner Schreiber.
Next is BOC 05070926, motion to adopt the 2026 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan and adopt resolution number 26-022, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions for members of the board? Commissioner Rosenbaum.
Yes, I was just looking over everything, and I'm relatively new to the board. I think this refers to a Ready for 100 community committed to 100% renewable electricity by 2030. And I just was wondering where we are on that.
Ms. McIlvaine is online to address questions.
So this is not associated with our Ready for 100. This is associated with the Community Development Block Grant program here at the township, but I can comment on the Ready for 100. The township we just received back the bids for the installation of our e-chargers at the township building. We have officially, as of last week, have back 2 of our electric vehicles that will kind of run as our test models, if you will, for how we can potentially integrate electric vehicles fully into our fleet. So we are working towards it, but there's a long way to go to meet the goals within the Ready for 100. But that is a separate effort from what is before you in this motion.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
BOC 06070926 is a motion to authorize advertisement for a request for proposals, RFP, for the design of the new Abington Township Public Library, conditioned upon final review and approval by both the Office of Commonwealth Libraries and the Township Solicitor's Office, and I so move.
Do I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Chrisman, is there anything you want to say about this, or Ms.
I'm going to
Fitzgerald?
defer to Ms. Fitzgerald.
Yeah, Liz, if you'd like to speak about this, please feel free.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hecker.
You're welcome.
So I did just want to note that the Office of Commonwealth Libraries have given us the go-ahead on this. So we are just waiting on the solicitor's approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions. We're really excited about moving forward with this project.
Thank you. Are there comments or questions from members of the board? Commissioner Laney Martin.
So I just want to ask, this RFP for the new design, whoever is selected, will we require them to reach out to the community and get input of what kind of things we're interested for the library to have? Like how is this going to be developed?
Thank you, Commissioner Laney Martin. The community engagement piece is going to be a huge part of this process. We are really interested in engaging the community to find out what everyone wants from the library. So yes, it will be a large part of this process and inform the design and plans moving forward.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that clear and out there in public.
Thank you.
Are there other comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
BOC 07070926 is a motion to approve a revision of scope of work for the Rockwell Road Stormwater Project under the CDBG-DR IDA grant from DCED. A lot of letters there of the alphabet, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
BOC 08070926 is a motion to adopt ordinance number 2243, repealing and replacing Chapter 85 fire prevention in its entirety, repealing Chapter 65 burning and repealing all inconsistent ordinances, and I so move.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board? We had a very good overview from Mr. Platts at our last discussion. All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
And our last item is BOC 09070926, motion to approve as advertised and approved by the Montgomery County Consortium, Wilson of Wallingford as the township's heating oil provider at the cost of a $5.598.
Yeah, per
I
gallon.
guess is how you say it, per gallon, and authorize the township manager to execute the contract, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded. Commissioner Rosenbaum. Aye.
Yes, I just had I was looking up what the, providers on the internet in the area are giving for prices, and I am sure there's an explanation, but this seems much higher than commercial heating. So I just was wondering if there's an explanation.
I'm going to defer to Ms. Tholey on this because we use the Montgomery County Consortium for a lot of our cooperative bidding with other municipalities to get the bulk discount.
This has been something that we've done for several years to try and lower the rate of the bulk oil that we use. The township, we just engage into this consortium. So I'd have to look and see I did pull the contract from last year just to kind of give us a sense of what the difference was. And I think it was about $2, $3 a gallon last year. I haven't looked to see what that difference is in comparison for this year. So I'd have to take a look at that.
Okay. Commissioner Bowman.
I assume that's covering the risk.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Commissioner Schreiber.
I wasn't on mic, actually, but that concludes our agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Schreiber. We'll now turn to the Finance Committee, and Finance Committee Chair Stuart Weingrad.
Thank you, President Hecker. The only item up is FC 01070926, motion to approve the May 2026 expenditures in the amount of $4,339,587.84, and salaries and wages in the amount of $3,698,429.16, and authorizing the proper officials to sign and approve invoices and supporting documentation and payment of bills and contracts as they mature through the month of August 2026, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioners Rosenbaum,
Yes.
Rothman,
Yes.
DePlacido,
Yes.
Laney Martin, Brown,
Yes.
Weingrad,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Sapone, Young Gertz,
Yes.
Spiegelman, Pertel,
Yes.
Schreiber,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Vice President Vehy,
Yes.
President Hecker.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
And that concludes the Finance Committee agenda items for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now open it up for general public comment. If you have any comments to make, please come forward. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead and say your name. Restart the clock, please. Yep.
Purposefully.
Please restart. There you go. It's 3 minutes.
Mr. Hecker, you have continually allowed citizens to belittle, insult, and even curse at those that you disagree with and would prefer not to have here. That needs to stop. Commissioners are not winning elections based on merit. To win elections, commissioners are required to support the destruction of thousands of middle-class homes. Commissioners must vote forward the massive and costly needs of developers with Jefferson Hospital connections. Commissioners must support the incremental development of a slum here in Abington. billionaire developers have background control of the majority of Abington homes. The orchestrated blighting of homes to destruction attests to the epidemic level of developer control. To please billionaires, thousands of citizens incrementally build fire trap housing. These citizens vote for the commissioners that developers once supported. For housing, people have given up their right to vote independently. Kings and queens control Abington. Developers can get their candidates voted for over and over for decades. Fire trap housing is protected by code enforcement under Mr. McEnany. The fire chief never addresses pile-ups of tires, chemicals, gas jugs, pipes, junk cars, RVs, and buses that sit on lawns, sidewalks, and driveways. Overgrown trees and weeds cover homes. Homes in deep decline have had fires here. Almost every home along Edge Hill Road and Tyson, plus the smaller streets in between, are in deep decay. Easton Road, directly across the street from the SPCA building, is where citizens with disability live in state-sponsored homes that actually lean sideways. These dilapidated homes are in a prominent area of Mr. Spiegelman's ward. Can't miss them. Why are citizens with disabilities living in disturbingly decayed homes in Abington? Mansions surrounding the Toll family home are utilized for construction depots, car detailing, or they just plain rot. Patrick Malloy, the police chief, has the ability to support neighborhoods by removing huge number of construction wagons, storage units, rotting boats, and vehicles from the streets. There are ordinances that do not allow this type of storage on the streets. Mr. Malloy has failed to help. Mr. Malloy prioritizes commissioners and the solicitor's concerns. That means honesty, citizen rights, quality of life, and safety are compromised here in Abington regularly. Questions are never answered. The abuse does not stop. Please do not edit my remarks continually on the minutes. You're destroying my meeting.
Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward? If so, please do so.
Good evening. Joe Brocious. I was here once before, and I stated that it was my desire to work collaboratively with the board and offer my investment expertise to try to find ways to increase revenue in the township. On March, I believe it was March 1st or 2nd, I met with Township Manager Jeanette Herman and John Spiegelman. I asked what kind of yield we were earning on our cash reserves that are in the bank. There's always cash in the bank. They told me Fed funds minus 40 basis points. That is a horrible rate. That is what the bank is charging or giving them. I told them at that time they can do better than that. Mr. Chrisman stated that where he was coming from, he used to invest in treasury bills. So my question is, why aren't we at least doing that now? I did a thorough analysis, which I presented, just using 1-month T-bills. We would earn an extra $294,000 in a year. If we earn that same $294,000 last year, you're looking at $588,000. The increase in millage, which increased the tax burden on taxpayers, was about $880,000. I let them know about a fund which was developed by the state treasurer. It's an investment pool, AAAM by Standard & Poor's. I used my investment expertise. I asked for a meeting. I know that my last email was also sent to Commissioner Heck and Commissioner Weingrant because John Spiegelman forwarded it. So you should have seen it. I asked for a meeting so that I could go deeper into the analysis. No one responded. My question is, why aren't we using T-bills in the time I was told my fund had to be vetted? In the meantime, T-bills could have been used. They haven't been, as far as I know. I asked if they were, I don't get any answers. I asked if we could have a meeting, don't get a meeting. I was just informed in June that we're not going forward with my fund. The investment consultant from Raymond James introduced another fund. He showed me the benefits that the investment advisor showed him. The investment advisor provided incomplete and incorrect information. He said his fund was $9.7 million in assets when the amount actually being invested in a township pool was $179 million. If we put our money with that, our money will be about 20% of that fund. That's unacceptable. I have plenty of time. I spent probably over 100 hours doing this analysis. Okay, I cannot present this in 3 minutes. It's impossible. That's why I wanted a meeting. I'll be happy to discuss it with the individual from Raymond James. My question is, does Raymond James often consult us on cash management or bond proceeds?
So, Mr. Brochus, I'm going to ask you to stop because you're over time. I will follow up with the manager, and we'll get an answer to your question in the coming week.
And I have the analysis because I have to go through all the numbers.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners and
evening.
everyone else. My name is Desiree Whitfield. I am coming with concerns about the 1100 Tyson Avenue, Rosewood Park condominiums. Since acquiring one of the units there, I went from November to March 7th in a cold blue winter without any heat. I came to the police department, talked to the assistant, and I met with the code force person and the Tom McEnany. They knew, they did nothing. Not only is it the heat. When they finally came out, I literally told them that the condition of the building was sinking because you can feel it on your feet. And my refrigerator no longer, closes without you pushing it. The bubbles, you can hear the water pouring in the ceilings. You can see that the building has sloped. You can see that the front step has sunk in. And when they came out to my building, I literally pointed to 3 trees and I said, if you do not cut those trees down, they're going to fall. What happened? The police department had to come out because the tree fell. The only reason why the other 2 trees did not fall is the neighbor, had someone cut the trees down. Now, when they came out, they were supposed to have been citing Onyx Management Company and the owner of my unit. I'm waiting to go to court. After my heat, mind you, my heat didn't come on until March the 7th. I'm waiting to go to court because I'm seeing the deterioration of this building. I then spoke to Chris, who told me that they didn't see no water issues. I invite every last one of you to our unit. It is so much water pouring in that you have water bubbles and the bedroom is now bowed. The place is going to collapse. The same thing I said about those trees that was going to come down. If you don't do anything about this building, something told me to knock on my neighbor's door. A month ago, in her bedroom, the same exact place, a hole is major. Water has been pouring from, I can testify, to November until May. If you come to that building, I have spoken with numerous residents, and I know my time is up. They have been trying to get someone from the township to come to see this building. In 3 years, they have had 3 different management companies. Per the ex-president of the condo association, on a conversation with one of the commissioners, he had no heat in Building C and was so cold, he was going to call the Department of Aging. I'm coming to you begging you
Yeah.
to please
We will have someone come
come
out.
to this unit before someone gets hurt. No one should live without heat and under these conditions.
Can you leave
Thank
your, can you leave your address with the staff so that we have it, so that we know exactly what we're talking
I'm
about?
sure they have it, but yes, I
Yeah,
will.
no, I don't have it. I just want to
Okay.
make sure we have it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Sapone.
What you should do in that case, okay, your Commissioner Spiegelman, you should contact him. No, he's not here tonight. Also the code department and the owner of that building. And also, it's an HOA, right? The Condo Association president. You need to set up a meeting with those 4 people, okay? And if Commissioner Spiegelman's, he'll make sure something gets done. You shouldn't have to live like that.
I have it in email, I tried to get everyone together and with the police department, because I like their cameras, you know, when people talk.
Understood.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for,
Stay on this. You can't just come here and get it out. And I'm telling you, contact those 4 people.
we will follow up with Commissioner Spiegelman directly.
And the township will get something done.
We will.
Y'all are welcome at my home at any time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward? Mr. Brochus, so you've already had your 3 minutes?
It's a different matter.
You get 3 minutes total. We're not doing that. I'm happy to talk to you off on the phone at some point. All right, we're gonna go to Zoom.
Ross Sable.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Ross Abel, Washington Lane, like Montgomery County. I'm disappointed that the e-bike bill was moved forward, but I appreciate everyone's thoughts, especially those who are skeptical of it as proposed. So I would supremely hope that you really can adjust it with feedback from your community and come up with something that will not prevent us from, and many people who really rely on these devices from being able to participate in our parks that do have the bigger trails like Alverthorpe. Separately, on the traffic calming policy, super excited. Thank you to the folks at the police department for and Officer Coughlin for working on this. I know it's been a while coming, so I'm excited to see that Abington's finally making some big steps to achieve these sorts of devices that other townships have been using. What I wanted to specifically call attention to, especially to our commissioners, reach out to those on like Cheltenham's traffic calming committee, in particular Irv Brockington. If any of you may know him already, or if you don't, please reach out. He's very open to speaking to folks about their experience on their traffic calming committee. What they experienced is they started with the 85th, this is just from my recollection talking to him, they started with the 85th percentile of 10 miles an hour or over. And I think they had this threshold for going on a couple of years. And it was very frustrating. They kind of had to have a blow up meeting because residents were putting so much time collecting signatures, proposing these things. And the vast majority of the time, it would not meet that threshold, especially when our roads, a lot of them are already too high of a speed limit for what you would expect in a neighborhood. So to meet that threshold of 10 miles an hour over what's already a high speed, they weren't meeting. And so that's why they revised down their speed limit to be or threshold to be 5 miles an hour over. So I know that Officer Coughlin mentioned the ability to revise, after a year, but you may save a lot of strife and frustration if you look at what these other towns have already learned, and we don't have to go through the same pain, especially when we want to have these types of devices helping calm the traffic sooner rather than later, because we all know that the cut through traffic is only getting worse.
Yes.
And our residents are having an awful time with the way drivers are treating our neighborhoods. So thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
Connie Briggs.
Connie Briggs.
Yes, good evening. We can hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I want to briefly comment on the pending 1209 Rydell Road conditional use application. Sorry about that. We have a dog.
That's fine.
With the understanding that the hearing is still open and continues on July 14th. My request tonight is simple. When this application eventually comes before the Board of Commissioners, please carefully apply every conditional use criterion, not just the dimensional requirements and not just the general argument that senior care is a worthwhile use. This is not about opposing senior care. It is about whether this specific proposal satisfies the conditional use standards for this specific R1 residential site. I also ask the board to carefully review the accuracy of the applicant's assertions about real-world operation of this facility, including staffing levels, parking demand, traffic increases, deliveries, vendors, medical transportation, emergency response, service vehicles, dumpsters, lighting, and other daily activity. These assumptions matter if staffing is understated, then parking and traffic may also be understated. And if traffic is evaluated mainly through peak hour averages, that may not capture the lived reality of a 24-hour operation in a residential neighborhood. If key operational details are deferred until later land development review, the board may not have the full information needed to decide suitability, safety, traffic impact, community character, and detriment to nearby homes. The applicant had the right to apply under the prior zoning, but conditional use is not automatic. The applicant still has the burden to show that this proposal meets the required criteria. I respectfully ask the board to review the hearing record very carefully, including the resident testimony and the July 14th public comments, and to uphold the conditional use standards that help protect neighborhood character and keep Abington a great place to live. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Lehman.
Laura Lehman, Meadowbrook. So what Connie said, okay, and everybody knows that that does not fit the character of the neighborhood, which is one of the requirements. But I think the more stunning thing on 1209 Rydell Road is how at the very outset, there were people sitting right there at your circular dais who really sought to help them in illegal ways, keeping the actual application from the residents and actually not setting, was amnesia by Mr. Clark, by Mr. Hecker, by the zoning officer, amnesia by the engineer, amnesia by everybody, all of a sudden that there needed to be a planning commission meeting before the conditional use application. It was stunning to watch this. So fortunately, the residents were pretty assertive and overcame all of that. But I think that's probably one of the principal things. It is tragic to hear tonight how many residents have contacted, which of course you know I'm aware of, having done this for 20 years, but who have contacted the township over important issues and been virtually ignored. So they end up having to come here and tell you they're ignored. And sadly, sometimes they come here and they're ignored again. And we know this. I mean, the colonnade was an example of what this woman tonight was talking about. So there's no way she should have contacted people from the township and still had to be here this many times over the same issues. And Commissioner Hecker, It's so important to have people who are honest and have integrity. You've promised to get back to me on several things like the transcripts from VBIT, and you don't. I'm asking you to try and find some integrity somewhere. There may be an integrity store you can get some from. But when you tell people in public that you're going to get people that information, you need to do that. There's no consent on the consent agenda. That is stupid. It's misnamed and it should be corrected. Those things on that agenda are things that you don't want the public to have any further vetting on, and you just want to be done with them quickly. Number two, traffic calming, in my experience, can be absolutely brutal. There's a place over in the Northeast where the bumps were so distracting that they actually added to the possibility of having an accident. So I think we need to be careful and include the neighbors. Plus, the neighbors sometimes think that they're going to get the traffic slowed down, but don't realize every time somebody hits that pump, there's going to be a loud noise in their house.
Please conclude your comments, Ms. Lehman. Your time has expired.
Yes. How could you vote for the e-bikes when you heard these residents asking you just to put it off until there was more input? Thanks to Commissioner Laney Martin for her approach to it, but I wish she had made a motion. So I think she will get braver as she sits on the board longer, but there needed to be a motion.
Thank you for your comments. With that, we are adjourned.